right, so review for Hellboy the Crooked Man, which came out this year. And this movie got a lot of bad reviews, so I had very low expectations about it. And I've heard this is a movie that's like a rights retainer. They have to, it's like they buy the rights and they have to make a movie within a certain amount of time. Otherwise, they lose the rights. So that they make a movie quickly to hold on to the rights so they can make another movie later. I've heard that. I don't know if it's true or not, but so I've enjoyed all the Hellboy movies, even the reboot with David Harbour. I enjoyed it. I mean, that got kind of bad mixed reviews too. That movie had a lot of problems also. Guillermo del Toro's first two movies, in my opinion, are the best ones, especially Hellboy 2. I really, really like that movie. And, you know, I wish he made a Hellboy 3, but that will never happen. So, but The Crooked Man, this movie has, again, like the reboot they just did a few years ago, has a lot of problems. What is the budget? Because the CGI in this movie's terrible. There's a giant spider in it. Doesn't look very good. You know, at one point it's like very dark. They're underground. That looked okay because it's very dark, but giant spider doesn't look very good. But I did actually enjoy this movie with its problems. And like I said, I had very low expectations. So the beginning of the movie is pretty bad because it opens with him and two other agents of B.P.R.D. and they're in a train. The train CGI looks terrible. There's a giant spider they're transporting. Looks terrible. It's in this giant box, and it awakens because it feels the evil of the Appalachian Mountains they're near. And then there's a fight inside of the trailer of the train. Looks bad. Looks terrible. And this ends up knocking the train over. One of the agents dies. He's with Bobby Joe. Also, she doesn't die. She's in the rest of the movie. And then they go into the forest, and there's a fight in the forest with the spider. So all the spider stuff basically looks bad. You know, bad CGI. The movie's budget's $20 million. They needed a bigger budget. Hellboy himself doesn't look as good, I'd say, as the Del Toro ones. Part of his face doesn't look amazing, like around his horns, I'd say. His hand doesn't look amazing, but they don't show it that much. But the rest of his costume, suit, I thought was okay. The guy who plays him, I thought did a decent job. I mean, he's no Ron Perlman, but I thought he did a decent job. And I thought the woman who played Bobby Joe was okay. So once you get past the giant spider, and he kind of shows up later too, I thought the film was entertaining. It just, you know, it's just a simple story. The movie's only an hour and a half. It doesn't overplay its welcome. You know, it's just a quick, simple, easy horror story, and I like that. He's wandering through the forest in the Appalachians with Bobby Joe, and they come across different people, and they're just human characters. I liked that. They encounter this guy who basically fell in love with a witch, and then he kind of became a witch, and then he has this magic this magic bone of a cat that he killed, and when he was cleaning all the bones, he encountered this thing called the Crooked Man, who basically works for Satan, who I think absorbs people's souls and gets paid to do it. And the Crooked Man is trying to get him, and when he encounters him at first, he runs away from him. He runs away from the Appalachians. He still has this bone. It's called a lucky bone, and it's with him, and it brings him luck. He's in World War II. This takes place in 1959. It's about to turn 1960, and he barely survives World War II, but he doesn't get injured at all, and he attributes this to the lucky bone. And then he comes back to the Appalachians to find his mom and father. His mom is dead, and later on so spoilers, but I did enjoy the movie. I would say if you're a Hellboy fan, check it out. It's only an hour and a half. It's very quick. Yeah, if you can get past the first 10 minutes because of the bad spider CGI at the train that looks bad, I think you'll enjoy the movie. I mean, I've never read the comic books, but I do enjoy all of the movies they've made. And I think this gets back to the roots of it, that it's a horror character. This definitely is trying to play up the horror elements. So that's what I would say. If you're a fan of Hellboy, check it out. It's directed actually by Brian Taylor, and he directed Crank 1 and 2, which I actually like those movies. Those movies are ridiculous, but I think they're fun. Crank and Crank High Voltage. But pretty hit or miss. I mean, he did Spirit of Vengeance, Ghost Rider. I don't remember that movie, but I remember not liking them very much. He wrote Jonah Hex, so that's not good. But yeah, I thought it was okay. So kind of a half-hearted recommendation for the movie. Okay, so the Crooked Man. And they encounter this Crooked Man again. I'll read the synopsis. Hellboy and a rookie B.P.R.D. agent in the 1950s are sent to the Appalachians, where they discover a remote community dominated by witches and led by the sinister local demon, the Crooked Man. Well, that's somewhat true, because they're transporting a giant spider through the Appalachians. But yeah, I mean, I think the movie's got its creepy elements. I liked the southern Appalachian feel to it. I mean, some of the southern accents, are fake probably, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the tone of the movie and just the feel of it. I think they were trying, even though it's probably a rights retention thing, but I think they did try to make an entertaining movie. Like, I like how this guy fell in love with this witch, and then this witch, she is like cursed, and she kind of becomes like an animal sometimes, and when she does, she leaves the skin suit behind. Like, she becomes a raccoon and she's out in the wilderness, and they come across her in this house and she's just a skin suit, and then the raccoon goes back into the skin suit and fills it out. And I don't know, that whole sequence was so weird and interesting. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a fan of Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy and stuff. This movie had a lot of weird kind of fantasy stuff you would see in like a fantasy video game, more like a D&D campaign. Like there's a scene with where Satan is talking, but instead it's like this giant bird talking, and I thought that was an interesting way of showing it. This giant crow. Some of the stuff with the Crooked Man's a little cheesy. How he keeps like cracking his neck and stuff like that, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good time. There's some good jokes, some good quips. I thought the back and forth between Hellboy and Bobby Joe were pretty good. There's like there's just such weird things in this movie. Like the guy's father, who he thought was dead, was turned into a horse that this other rich rides, and then he finds out that it's his father, and then his father's she turns him back into his human self, and then he takes him to a church led by this priest who's blind, and led by this priest who's blind, and he wants to bury him on holy ground, which becomes an important thing later. And the whole holy ground thing I like, because later the Crooked Man can't get in there, but then he starts, because it's holy ground, he can't cross the line. Which kind of reminded me of Salem's Lot, actually, which I reviewed a while ago. And then he starts to summon people that are buried in the cemetery, and they become zombies, and they start to run into the church to attack him and Bobby Joe and the priest. I just found all that entertaining. And Hellboy shooting him with his gun, and the Crooked Man is like, your sins are, the priest is like, their sins are forgiven, the people that are buried in the cemetery, but then the Crooked Man's like, yeah, but not forgotten. And then they start to rush in, and they're zombies, and then the Crooked Man starts to tempt the priest, and he's like, I'll make you young again, I will heal your eyesight. And for a while he did heal his eyesight and made him young, but the priest says he doesn't want any gifts from Satan, and rejects all that. So yeah, I enjoyed the feel of the movie. The music I thought was actually pretty good. It's like simple, but kind of this horror-esque music with a little bit of a southern twist, I would say, to it. There's this creepy scene where this lady who's the witch, who's basically doomed, and that's the lady that he fell in love with back in the day. And she's like floating in the air, and a snake just keeps coming in and out of her mouth, and I don't know, just really creepy scene. So the movie's definitely got, I think, a good feel to it, and I just found it entertaining. And like I said, it's quick. It's only an hour and a half. And I just thought there was a lot of imaginative ways to use a low budget, besides the bad CGI, which is bad. So it says the budget's $20 million. Unlike other 3 live-action films, Mike Mignola, creator of the character, received a credit on this film for co-writing the screenplay. He has been very outspoken for his dislike of some of the creative choices of the first 3 films, though he did receive a story credit for Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. He still expressed his disappointment in that film. At 1 hour 39 minutes, this is the shortest Hellboy movie. Jack Kesey plays Hellboy. I thought he did an okay job. So I haven't really seen him in much. He was in the reboot of Death Wish, which I actually thought was okay too, with Bruce Willis. So he's the youngest actor to portray Hellboy. The film takes place exactly 40 years before Guillermo del Toro and Ron Perlman's Hellboy. Yeah, it takes place in 59. And at the end of the movie, it turns 1960. So yeah. Hellboy the Crooked Man, check it out. I thought it was okay. I know it got a lot of hate, which is deserved in many ways because of, like I said, some of the makeup on his face I didn't think was amazing. His hand, and the CGI. But I just thought the story was good. The dialogue was pretty good. The performances, I like the setting. I just like how it's just kind of a simple, old school horror story in the southern mountains of Appalachia. Like a scene where the priest is talking about how there used to be a lot more people around here. There was only a few witches, and he's like, now it just seems that there's only witches that live around here. Like all the stuff that takes place in the church, I thought was really entertaining. And then the priest blesses this shovel that he used to bury people in the grave, and puts a cross on it that glows. And then Hellboy uses that to defeat the zombies that are trying to raid and attack the church. And there's this thing about witch balls and how the witches make them, and there's a lot of witches in this movie. So yeah, but if you could do me a favor and smash that like button, that'd be great. It helps the channel a lot. And I would say, it's a half-hearted recommendation. I didn't think it was terrible, so check it out. The Crooked Man, Hellboy.